Chapter 6. Rico kissed and sucked his way across Sonia's neck, leaving a trail of hickeys. She moaned a little as he sucked her soft skin roughly and reached his hand into her jeans. Just when he was about to slide his hand into her underwear, the sound of heavy footsteps came thudding down the stairs. Sonia tugged his hand away and tried to climb from his lap, but Rico held her still with his firm grip, still gazing into her eyes with desire, as Twin and Yanni barged into the living room.
Why didn't you tell me you ordered food?
Twin asked, lunging at the box of pizza and greedily snatching up a slice.
Yo, take it to go.
Rico sighed as Sonia broke free and moved beside him. Twin grabbed 2 boxes of pizza, then he and Yanni returned upstairs. The momentary interruption had broken the spell between Sonia and Rico. Sonia was sitting beside him now, arms folded over her chest. Rico ignored her attitude and picked up right where he had left off, kissing her neck as he unbuckled his jeans. "Rico, why can't we just go down to your room?" she pleaded.
I told you, I can't let you down there.
"I want some privacy." He ignored her and planted a passionate kiss on her lips while running his hand up her shirt and into her bra. Then, Lucky came barging into the house. Sonia adjusted again swiftly as Lucky plopped down in the love seat.
"Hey, funny."
She smiled.
Don't you want to go upstairs to your room?
Rico asked with a clenched jaw.
"Nah, I'd rather stay down here."
She laughed, unzipping her jacket.
Yo, go upstairs.
Lucky snickered, then ran off to her room. Again, Rico moved closer, but Sonia backed away.
Sonny, come on.
No. He pushed out an annoyed sigh.
What you want me to do? Get a hotel room?
No, I'm not a prostitute.
I ain't talking no dirty motel. I'm talking the Four Seasons, the Plaza, something like that.
He trailed his fingertips across her inner thigh. I don't want to do it in the living room, and I don't want to go to a hotel for a couple of hours. She turned her nose up. He grinned, then said seductively,
We could always go back to your house.
"Yeah, and if my mother hears about it, she'll probably kick me out."
Then you can just move in with me.
"How? Well, you won't even let me in your room." She stood and slipped on her jacket.
I know you're not leaving.
Sonia didn't respond, just picked her backpack up from the floor. After seeing that she was serious, Rico stood and grabbed her hand, leading her into the kitchen, then over to the basement door. Sonia stared around the unfinished basement, its walls lined with big black garbage bags overflowing with cash. Stray $50 and $20 bills were scattered across the floor like fallen leaves. "Where did all this money come from?"
Work.
Rico said simply, moving her over to his messy bed. Then, in a deathly serious tone, he said,
You can't tell nobody what you saw down here. Not Ebony or Yanni either.
"I won't tell anybody."
I'm serious, Sonny.
"I won't. You act like I'm the type to go running my mouth."
I know you're not. That's why you down here right now.
He hugged her at the waist.
Don't make me regret it.
Twin and Javier sat at the kitchen table the next day, waiting for Rico, who was late as usual. Javier's jaw clenched as he tried to make sense of Rico's reckless behavior. At first, he thought it was a good idea for Rico to keep Sonny close. Keeping an eye on her seemed like a good idea, but soon Javier realized this was something else. Rico was spending all his time with this girl and doing things for her he had never done for any of the others. What could Sonia possibly have that Rico was willing to risk everything for? Yeah, she had a pretty face, but no prettier than any of the other girls Rico had been with. No prettier than Jacinda with the baby doll features and long curly hair. Or Monica with the wide hips and small waist. Javier figured it had to be Rico's guilty conscience. Rico walked into the kitchen with an annoyed scowl, like he'd rather be anywhere but there. He leaned against the refrigerator, staring at Twin and Javier, waiting for them to talk.
Twin said Sonny was down in the basement last night.
Javier said, getting straight to the point.
I thought we said nobody could go down there.
It's only funny.
Rico said with a fierce stare. Javier glared back, jaw clenching again.
That's not just your money.
Twin pointed out.
We can trust her.
You don't even know her.
Javier said.
Look, the basement is my room, and if I want her down there, she can come down.
Javier shook his head, then asked.
What if y'all get in a fight and stop talking? Then she go running her mouth.
She ain't gonna say nothing, and she ain't going nowhere.
Rico said confidently, leaving the kitchen. Twin blew out a frustrated sigh, then mumbled under his breath.
He bugging.
Javier glared at Twin.
You want to talk?
What you mean?
You got with Yanni.
It's not the same thing. We didn't shoot Yanni.
Nah, we just shot her best friend. And you've been giving her cash. You think she ain't gonna start running her mouth after y'all break up?
What can she say? All she know about the cash is we get it from working for your uncle.
Javier shook his head.
Why does she even know that?
Ha, man. You being way too paranoid.
Twin laughed before walking out. Javier sat at the kitchen table, feeling tight. He knew it was just a matter of time before everything would come crashing down. Sonia and Rico's relationship went from intense to borderline obsessive. Skipping school became the norm, as Sonia's addiction to Rico grew stronger than ever. Being in his presence was the only time she felt completely safe, taken care of, and at ease. It was the first real peace she had in a long time. As always, Sonia was by Rico's side all day. So, when Javier called informing Rico that they needed to meet up, Rico brought Sonia right along with them. She smiled politely. Her eyes moved from Javier's annoyed expression to the politician's uneasy smile.
Sonia, it's so nice to see you again.
Louise shook her hand.
Do you mind waiting out here in the lobby? I need to have a word with the men.
He gestured toward a chair.
Just let my secretary know if you need anything. Coffee, tea, whatever.
Inside the conference room, Louis stood at the head of the table with his arms folded over his chest, the way fathers do before lecturing their children.
We need to discuss the money in the basement.
Rico looked over at Javier with an annoyed look, then said,
We already talked about this. Sonny can go down there whenever.
Javier glared at Rico challengingly.
She can go down there all you want, but we need that money up out of there.
Rico laughed sarcastically.
Where y'all want to put it? A bank?
Then Louise chimed in, diffusing the rising tension.
We just want to put it somewhere safe. A place where no one has to worry.
I already told ya, it's nothing to worry about.
Rico, you're bringing the girl around the money and to our meetings. You're putting a lot of people at risk. She's seen me, and now she knows we're all connected.
She already knew that. She saw you and Javier at some rally months ago. Y'all worry for no reason.
Louise and Javier exchanged looks.
Is that all y'all wanted to talk to me about? 'Cause I got places to be.
Rico pushed away from the table, ready to stand. Then Louise said,
I know some people who can clean the money, make it legit, and put it somewhere safe. This way, when you want to make a major purchase, like a house, a business, whatever, you can get it without people asking questions.
Rico furrowed his brow, then thought for a minute.
Alright, what we need to do?
Just count it and box it up. I'll take care of the rest.
When Rico asked Sonia and Lucky to count all the cash in the basement, the girls stared at him like he was crazy. He tried to spin it like it would be some kind of fun night for the girls, where they could order a bunch of food and listen to music. Both girls saw right through it, but after he informed them that they have cash counting machines, they agreed to help out. Sonia agreed just out of wanting to help Rico. Lucky agreed after he offered to pay them. After hours of counting, all the garbage bags of cash were replaced with big moving bags stacked neatly near the basement staircase. By the time they finished counting it all, their tan latex gloves had turned a sick shade of grayish brown. Even though the cash was all boxed up, the stealth scent of money still hung in the air. Rico stepped into the basement, his eyes scanning the place like he was silently evaluating their work. He sat in bed beside Sonia, his palm tracing the curve of her calf.
Thanks for doing this for me.
He said with genuine gratitude. I'm happy I could help you. She shrugged.
I got you something to thank you.
Rico said, producing a small box. He opened it, revealing a dazzling diamond chain with a heart-shaped locket. Sunny was etched onto the tiny heart. Thank you, Rico. She beamed, the necklace heavy against her neck. But her smile quickly faded when she realized his fingers were fumbling with the clasp of her gold chain.
You want to keep this old one?
He asked, holding up the thin, tarnished gold nameplate necklace. Yeah, my father gave me that. He placed the chain into her hand, adding,
That's platinum too, not silver.
He said with pride. It must have cost a lot.
Not too much for my girl.
He hugged her at the waist. Rico studied her face. Instead of seeing the look of joy that he expected, a cloud of worry darkened her eyes.
What's wrong? You don't like it?
Forcing a smile that didn't quite match her eyes, she said, It's really pretty, and I'm really grateful. But where did all this money come from?
I already told you.
Rico sighed. All this money couldn't have come from running errands. We counted almost $1 million.
750,000 ain't a mill. But we'll get there soon.
He muttered with a hint of bitterness. Is Javier's uncle some kind of crooked politician? Is he doing something illegal? Rico sighed, making his irritation clear, but Sonia continued on. I'm just worried that you'll get in trouble from all this.
I get paid to run errands. Nothing illegal. Don't worry, aight?
She gave him a weak nod.
Javier and Twin think you'll go running your mouth.
He stared deep into her eyes.
But I told him we could trust you. Sonny, please don't make me look stupid.
You know you can trust me.
Yeah, I know.
He nodded, then he started stroking the side of her neck. His rough palm against the softness gave her goosebumps.
Do you love me?
The question seemed to come out of nowhere. Surprised, Sonia smiled and admitted, Yeah, I do.
Tell me.
He said, pulling her face close to his.
I want to hear you say the words.
I love you.
I love you too.
He kissed her. Sonia sat in chemistry class, staring at the board in confusion. Her teacher was writing an equation, but to her, it just looked like a bunch of gibberish. A year ago, Sonia was balancing equations like nobody's business. Now, she was lucky if she could even follow along. She sighed, leaning her hand into her palm, wishing she had skipped class and was cozy in Rico's bed. Miss Perez slid Sonia's progress report across the desk, and after seeing her grades, a wave of dread washed over Sonia. She missed a ton of classes, but all those D's and F's somehow still shocked her. Well, Sonia said under her breath.
Well, the good thing is, these are just midterm grades. You can still bring them up.
Miss Perez said in a gentle tone.
You've been the perfect student for 3 years. You're almost done, Sonia. All you have to do is finish this last year.
She pleaded.
If this year's too difficult for you, we can take you out of the honors classes.
No, please don't. I'll be fine. Sonia assured her with a confident nod. I'll bring my grades up. She stood, stuffing the paper into her backpack. Miss Perez strained a smile.
I'll speak to your teachers about extra credit, but Sonia, it's gonna be up to you to do the work. And you have to stop missing classes.
I will. Thank you. When Sonia stepped out of school later that day, she spotted Lucky and Anna chatting it up outside. An odd sight to see.
There she is. Anna's coming shopping with us.
Lucky said as Sonia walked up. I can't go. I need to finish some assignments. Sonia said with a sigh.
Do your work after we shop.
Lucky pleaded. Lucky, I know you. We'll be in Manhattan for 6 hours.
Sonny, Rico gave us $3,000, and you want to go to some homework?
$3,000? Where'd he get all that from?
Anna asked. Before Lucky could respond, Sonia cut in. I'll come, but we gotta be quick.
It won't take me long. Anyway, Anna just told me she can help me with my trigonometry. So after we go shopping, we can spend all night long studying if you want.
Lucky laughed. Instead of hitting up the high-end stores off Fifth Avenue, Lucky opted for Fordham Road, determined to stretch her hard-earned cash. After a few hours of bouncing between sneaker shops and clothing stores, the girls walked to the train to head home. That's when Sonia's eyes caught a glimpse of a sparkling gold chain in a jewelry store window. The cross pendant was adorned with light blue and yellow gems and looked absolutely beautiful. Rico opened the velvet box, revealing a shiny chain that sparkled in the dim basement's light. You like it?
Yeah, but you didn't have to get me this. That money was for you.
I wanted to, she replied, slipping the chain around his neck.
I'm the one who's supposed to spoil you, not the other way around.
He reached under his bed, grabbed a duffel bag, then pulled out a wad of cash.
Here, don't buy me nothing else,
He said, stuffing the money into her backpack. He returned to Sonia's side, hugging her at the waist and kissing her neck. I just wanted to get you something nice because you're always taking care of me.
I love taking care of you. I love you.
He kissed her neck. I love you too. But don't be mad at me, she giggled, pulling away. He raised an eyebrow.
Why would I be mad?
I have to go upstairs to study tonight, and I can't keep skipping school.
You for real?
I got my midterm grades today, and I almost cried.
I know you're not leaving right now. You gotta let me thank you for my gift.
He caught her by the waist and hugged her tight. I can't. My cousin is upstairs waiting. She's gonna help me and Nucky study.
You serious?
He asked in disbelief. Sorry. I'll see you this weekend, though, she said apologetically as she scooped up her backpack and headed upstairs. Chapter 7. The cloudless gray sky hung heavy over Sonia as she and Lucky walked up the street. After a long week apart, Sonia couldn't wait to see Rico. She shoved her hands deep into her pockets, shivering in the stinging wind. Sonia was only half listening to Lucky. All she could think about was getting into the warm house and into Rico's arms again. But before the girls could make it to the front door, someone was walking up behind them. A honey-skinned girl with shiny black hair stopped them in their tracks.
Hey, Lucky.
The girl greeted. Her voice was light and toxic.
Hey, Drea.
Lucky begrudgingly replied. After hearing Dria's name, Sonia's attention was fully focused. Drea stepped up to them with a smug grin.
Is Rico here?
Nope.
Lucky said with an attitude. Why you looking for Rico? Sonia asked.
I wasn't talking to you.
Drea said coolly with a smirk. Well, I'm talking to you. Why are you looking for Rico?
Lucky, please get your little friend.
Drea said with a forced laugh, making Sonia even more heated.
No, answer her question.
Lucky said, annoyed.
Why are you here?
I just wanted to return this.
Drea pulled Rico's blue and yellow bejeweled necklace from her pocket.
He left this at my house the other night.
And at that moment, Sonia lunged at Drea, snatching the necklace, then pouncing on her. With intense rage, Sonia punched her in the jaw, knocking the smirk off her face. Drea quickly gained the advantage, though, slipping away, then dragging Sonia by the hair. Sonia had never been in a fight in her life, and it showed. Lucky shook her head as Drea dragged Sonia and started punching her in the stomach. Lucky knew she had to jump in. She ran over and hopped onto Drea's back, digging her fingers in her eyes, making her stumble away from Sonia, clutching her face. By then, Yanni and Twin were out the door, half-dressed and charging down the stoop. Drea tried to lunge at Sonia again, but Twin blocked her with his massive arm, scooping her up and dragging her towards the street. Drea broke free and sprinted past Twin, but Yanni was waiting. She stopped Drea with a punch to the mouth that left Drea crumpled and clutching her face. Blood began pouring from her lip, staining her white coat.
I'm coming back for you, and next time I'll catch you alone.
You better get out of here while you still can.
Twin barked at Drea, now holding Sonia and Lucky back. Drea staggered to her feet, blood staining her face. She spat a bloody glob at Sonia's feet and stumbled down the street.
Yanni, you almost took her head off.
Lucky laughed as they walked up the stoop.
Who was that?
Yanni asked, shaking her head in disbelief.
Drea.
Lucky said.
She came over to return Rico's chain.
Twin grabbed the chain from the pavement and noticed Sonia charging up the street.
Sonny, don't go after that girl.
He sighed. I'm going home, she said flatly. As Sonia walked, distraught and disheveled, her anger turned into deep pain as her mind replayed the betrayal. All kinds of scenarios of Rico and Drea filled her mind. It felt like a knife was twisting in her stomach. Rico had always made her feel like she was his one and only. He made her feel so secure, she never doubted his loyalty. Even with his reputation, she just knew their love was different. By the time she got home, Rico had called her cell phone at least 10 times. After stumping into her room, she hurled her phone at the wall, trying but failing to smash it to pieces. Moments later, Gloria was at her door asking,
"What is all that noise in here?"
"Sorry, Ma," Sonia huffed. Gloria's expression went from anger to concern when she saw the scratch marks and welts on her daughter's face.
"What happened to you?"
"I got in a fight."
"A fight with who?"
"Just some girl." Gloria shook her head.
"This got something to do with Rico, don't it? He just called here looking for you."
"No," Sonia lied. Gloria shook her head and headed back up the hall. The next day at school, Yanni and Lucky stepped over to Sonia's locker.
Hey.
They greeted with sympathetic expressions.
"You all right?"
Yanni asked. Sonia nodded as she placed her coat in the locker.
Rico said you're not answering his calls.
Lucky said, "I'm not." Then Sonia pulled out her phone. "And you can get us back to him."
Sonny, you being dramatic.
Lucky shook her head.
You know Drea did all that just to get to you. She came over our house because she knew you would be there and wanted to start something.
"And how would she even know that I would be there?" Sonia shook her head, simmering.
"She probably knew that Rico disappeared every weekend because he's spending time with you,"
Yanni said in a bitter tone.
"And he probably been going to see her during the week."
"And y'all never seen her over there when I wasn't around?"
"Now you know I would have told you,"
Yanni said, insulted.
I would too.
Lucky chimed in. Then both Sonia and Yanni shot her looks of doubt.
I'm for real. I wouldn't let neither one of y'all get played like that. I consider us friends.
Now Lucky was the one sounded highly offended. Then with caution, Lucky said,
But we don't even know Rico's side of the story. Maybe nothing happened with Drea, and she just talking.
They rolled their eyes.
Look, all I'm saying is, she showed up at our place with an agenda. She wanted to make you mad, so you would leave Rico, and now you just giving her what she wants.
So I should stay with Rico just so Drea can have him to herself? Forget that. She could have him on weekends and weekdays. Sonia slammed her locker shut, leaving them behind. Lucky had been going so hard taking up for Rico. Sonia wondered if he had sent her as a pawn. She breathed deeply, trying to calm the anger. But any hope in that happening vanished when she spotted Donovan strolling toward her, hands in hand with Kim. Sonia averted her eyes, staring straight ahead. She didn't have to see the smug look on his face. She knew it was there. All day, Sonia fought the urge to ditch school, crawl into bed, and let the tears flow like they had all weekend. When school finally let out, Rico was parked in front waiting for her. She walked past him, refusing to look his way.
Sonny.
He called out, driving slowly beside her. But she continued up the street, staring straight ahead. A few blocks later, Rico threw the car in park and hopped out.
Yo, wait up. Talk to me.
He said, grabbing her hand. She yanked away. There's nothing to talk about. You cheated on me.
I'm sorry.
She had expected Rico to deny it, but just like Donovan, he just admitted it like it was nothing. Sonia wiped away tears and asked, "What is it about me that made you think it was okay to cheat? You must think I'm just so insecure and pathetic that you could do whatever you wanted and I'd be okay with it."
I don't think that.
He stroked her neck, but she pushed his hand away. "Well, why did you do it? Obviously, you wasn't worried about losing me. You're not even denying it right now."
Would you rather I lie to you?
"No, I would rather you not cheat on me in the first place." She pushed past him, with no plans of making the same mistake twice. He caught her by the arm again.
You leaving me?
Sonia looked away from him, beginning to sob.
I love you.
"Rico, I'm not about to fight over you. You can go be with Drea."
I don't want her. I want you.
She was silent, still avoiding his eyes.
So you willing to walk away after just 3 months?
"Yes, because you was willing to cheat on me after just 3 months. I wasn't enough for you?"
The only reason I got with Drea was because she was available and you was busy.
"You're blaming me?"
No, I'm just explaining. I wasn't choosing her over you.
He insisted, his eyes locked on hers.
You're still my girl. I love you.
He repeated, pleading. "You couldn't have some self-control and just wait a few days to see me?"
Look, I said I was sorry.
He said, annoyance creeping into his voice.
And don't act like you wasn't getting with Donovan when we first got together.
"Donovan was my boyfriend." Then he lowered his tone.
I can't believe you want to throw this away just like that.
"You threw it away when you chose her over me," she said as tears blurred her vision.
Give me another chance. I swear it won't happen again.
"Can you please just leave me alone?" she asked softly.
Word?
He asked, but she didn't answer. Instead, she yanked her arm away and walked down the street. At first, Rico figured Sonia would forgive him in a few days, tops. But a month later, reality hit him. She was for real. Rico pulled the buzzing phone from his pocket, hoping it was Sonia, but knowing better.
What's up?
He answered with a sigh.
Nothing. I ain't heard from you all month.
Drea purred sweetly.
Yeah, I've been busy.
He muttered.
I meant to call you though.
Can you come over?
I'm on my way.
Sonia's heart ached constantly, from morning till night, and her stomach was tight with anger. Anger at Rico's betrayal, then anger at herself for missing him. It was a pendulum that swung wildly from Rico to Donovan, then to her father, until she felt so suffocated She could barely breathe. As Sonia entered the incense shop, she spotted the familiar old man behind the counter. She approached him awkwardly, asking to speak to the lady in the back. He gave her a confused look, then walked away, reappearing with the old lady. About 30 minutes later, Sonia left the shop with a bag full of merchandise and a long list of directions. Hopeful yet anxious, she stepped out onto the sidewalk and bumped into Lucky.
Sonny, what you doing here?
Lucky smiled. Just picking up some stuff, she said flatly, shifted her bag away.
How do you know about this place? For Rico?
Sonia gave her a half nod, wanting to continue on her way.
Where you been lately? Just 'cause you done Rico doesn't mean you need to ignore me and Yanni.
I'm not. I just been busy trying to pass classes. Lucky raised an eyebrow, seeing right through her excuse.
Well, since you're not ignoring us, come out with us Saturday night.
Sonia hesitated, her heart clenching at the thought of being around people, even her friends. Lucky sighed, then said,
All right, you don't have to come out with us. I'll just come by your house before we go out.
She laughed, peeking into Sonia's bag.
I can help you with whatever you got in there, because I know you don't know what you're doing.
Does this stuff actually work? Sonia asked, hesitantly.
Yeah, how you think I got blue?
Mama Yaya and Lucky said the information from the spirits will come in the form of dreams. So, when Sonia started having vivid dreams every night, she became hopeful. But after a few days, no information was revealed and nothing about the dreams was helpful. She just had the same nightmare each night. Her floating above her father's body the night that he was murdered. She would look down at the sidewalk below, at herself lying beside him, bleeding and in pain. No shooter, just endless replays of trauma. Then she'd wake up freezing, the room so cold her breath fogged the air. Then Sonia would go back to Mama Yaya just to learn that she needed to perform yet another ritual. On a dreary Friday after school, Sonia was surprised to find a big bouquet of blood-red roses sitting on her stoop. She picked up the heavy vase and read the card attached. Sonny, I love you. I miss you. Please let me see you tonight. Rico. She hated that the flowers and note actually had her consider recalling him. She had something to prove, to Rico and herself. But being stubborn and unforgiving made her miserable. Slowly, doubt began to creep in. Maybe Rico had a point. After all, hadn't she been seeing Donovan when they started talking? And on top of that, flaunting her relationship right in Rico's face. She sat the vase on her dresser, then crawled into bed, wrapping herself in the softness of her comforter. She put her pillow close, then rolled over and picked up the phone, hoping she wasn't making a mistake. Rico's eyes scanned Sonia's legs as she stepped down the stoop, taking in every inch with just a single glance. The smooth curves of her calves, the delicate skin of her thighs that peeked out from her dress, and the way her hips swayed with each step.
You look real nice.
He slid his hand onto her knee after she slid into the car. Then he pulled her in for an intense and long kiss, while his rough hand gripped her thigh.
You miss me, I could tell.
He said with a smile. I did.
But did you so long call me back then?
I had a lot to think about. Rico nodded.
I saw Drea the other day.
Seeing a flash of anger in Sonia's eyes, Rico quickly continued.
I was ignoring her all month. Then she called, and I decided to go over and let her know I'm not dealing with her no more.
You could have said that to her over the phone, Sonia said with an attitude.
I wanted to make myself clear, and I told her she better never bother you again.
What about the other girls?
What other girls?
Be for real. Drea wasn't the only one.
She was.
Rico, I'm not stupid.
You saying you don't trust me?
He seemed genuinely offended. I just found out you were cheating. Of course I don't.
If that's how you feel, why you here right now?
You know what? I don't even know. Can you take me back home?
You serious?
She nodded.
You want to go home? I'll take you home.
Rico bust an illegal U-turn, almost sideswiping a cab. After driving a short while, in a tense silence, Rico pulled over and turned to Sonia asking,
Why did you agree to see me tonight?
Because I missed you. She admitted.
But if I take you back home, you'll only be missing me again.
He smiled a little, making her smile too. Then he leaned over, kissing Sonia beneath her ear, moving his lips down her jawline until he reached her mouth, biting her bottom lip softly the way she liked, teasing her before kissing her passionately.
You want me to take you home?
He pulled away to ask. No. Rico skillfully navigated the bustling streets of Manhattan, where high-end boutiques replaced the fried chicken spots of the Bronx and Harlem, and luxury high-rise condos replaced tenements. With one hand on the steering wheel and the other holding Sonia's hand tight, Rico turned into an underground garage where there were so many luxury cars, it looked more like a high-end dealership than a parking garage. Where are we? Sonia asked, following him through the garage.
My new place.
He replied, his chest puffed with pride. Sonia shot him a skeptical look, but followed him through a sleek glass door, then into an elevator. Inside, Rico swiped a white card, and they were transported up to the 12th floor. The elevator doors opened to the most beautiful hallway Sonia had ever seen. The walls were covered in rich olive green wallpaper. The brass molding lining the floors gleamed like gold. When did you move here?
Almost a month ago. I was trying to get everything situated before I brought you over. Then, everything with Drea happened.
He said, unlocking the apartment door. Tall windows stretched all the way to the ceiling, making Sonia feel like she would tumble down to the street below as she stepped close.
You like it?
He asked, admiring her look of amazement. She's so nice. She smiled, pressing her hand onto the surface of the cold window. Rico moved behind her, sliding her coat from her shoulders and tossing her onto the sofa. Then, with his chest pressed to her back, he moved his face into the crook of her neck.
You love me?
He asked, kissing her softly. I love you. Rico was blowing out weed smoke and making sure to aim it away from Sonia's face, just as she took the blunt from his fingers and took a long drag. He raised an eyebrow, asking,
Since when do you smoke?
Lucky got me to try it, she said while holding the smoke in her lungs.
A lot has changed in a month. How did Lucky get you to try it when I've been trying to get you to loosen up all this time?
Instead of telling him the truth, Sonia just shrugged. He had already told her not to go to Yaya about her father, so she kept it all to herself. The truth was, Yaya had her drinking rum and smoking cigars to better connect to the spirits, and Sonia ended up liking both so much, she started sipping Bacardi every night before bed. Then, when Lucky offered her a hit of the blunt, Sonia figured, why not? Chapter 8. Before Sonia knew it, Rico's new place became like her second home. He insisted they needed to make up for lost time, and just like that, Sonia was back to skipping school. Most of the time, they spent their entire day in bed having passionate sex marathons. On the rare occasion that Rico wasn't there, he could be found down on the 10th floor at Twins' new place, which had become the crew's new hangout spot. While Sonia was trying to get things back on track with Rico, a new storm was brewing. Every night, around 3 a.m., that same nightmare was snapping her awake. But now, shadows were flickering and moving in unnatural ways in the corners of her eyes. It was like she was living through some demented episode of The Twilight Zone every night. On this particular night, when Sonia was back home in the Bronx, she woke up from yet another nightmare. She lay awake at 3:02 a.m. in her dark bedroom with an uneasy feeling that wouldn't go away. A feeling that someone was watching her. It was like she could even feel the person lingering close by. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. Then she smelled cigarette smoke. Sonia climbed from her bed, following the strong smell up the hall and into the living room. Hovering above her father's favorite recliner was a weird cloud of smoke. Gary used to sit there, puffing on his Newports and blowing the smoke out the window to avoid hearing Sonia and Gloria complain about the smell. Suddenly, Sonia's heart skipped with joy. She knew it was him. "Daddy?" she whispered with desperation. She got no response. But the small cloud grew larger and thicker until the room was so smoky, Sonia could hardly see. Her eyes started to burn and water as the smoke detector started beeping like crazy. Sonia choked on the thick smoke. Then, out the corner of her eye, she saw the familiar dark shadow moving quickly toward her. She ducked just as her mother stepped into the living room with the broom.
This thing keeps going off,
Gloria said, using the broom handle to tap the button on the smoke detector, stopping the beeps.
I changed the batteries twice already. I'll get it replaced tomorrow,
Gloria said, before returning to her room and leaving Sonia alone in the smokeless, dark living room. Sonia looked around the dingy-looking office in Chinatown, questioning her instincts. A quick glance at the MapQuest printout confirmed the address. She was in the right place. She approached a grumpy-looking white man at the front desk. "Hi, I have an appointment." The man, whose eyes were glued to the newspaper, spoke without looking at her.
"I don't have any appointments today."
"I scheduled it on your website,"
"You must be looking for Nate. He's in there."
the man said, gesturing toward the door.
"Just knock."
The tiny office was cramped and stuffy, with a massive desk taking up most of the space. Nate sat at the desk. He had fawn-colored skin and big doe eyes to match. What stuck out to Sonia first was how young he looked. When she saw the online ad, he was claiming to be the best PI in the city. So Sonia expected somebody with years of experience. Somebody who looked more like the white man at the front desk. How was this boy gonna help her?
"Nice to meet you. Please, have a seat."
His mature-sounding voice didn't match his youthful looks at all. Sonia sat in the worn-out raggedy leather chair, explaining the case to Nate, as he listened with an intensity that was somehow both intimidating and confident. After Sonia finished, Nate told her that he was sorry for her loss, but assured her that he would be able to help. "How long have you been doing this?" Sonia asked, hoping her disappointment didn't show up on her face.
"About a year."
Sonia sighed and said, "I really need this case solved. I think I need somebody with a little bit more experience."
"In the 1 year this firm has been open, I've closed 98% of my cases successfully."
Sonia looked at him skeptically, then asked, "Is that man in the other room an investigator?"
"Yeah, he'll be helping me out, if that'll make you feel better."
"Sorry if I'm being rude. It's just that this is a serious case, and I need it to be solved."
"It's not rude. I completely understand. Just know that if you hire me, I'm gonna work harder than any other PI out here. I only take on cases that I believe in and that I care about. So you don't have to worry about me telling you whatever you want to hear, just so I can get the money. I'm really here to help.
Sonia had to admit, Nate did carry himself with an air of experience beyond his years. She figured it wouldn't hurt to give him a try. If it was a waste of money, there was more where that came from. And if things didn't work out, she could easily try somebody else. Even though it was only 7 p.m., it was pitch black outside. The chilly late November night had driven the Bronx indoors, leaving the streets silent and deserted. Sonia and Ebony stepped out of Lucky's house and started shivering instantly.
Come on, Sonny. Invite Javier to your dinner.
Ebony begged. I already told you I don't want him there. He's always looking at me like he got some type of problem. I don't want him ruining my birthday dinner with his bad mood.
Sonia, I'm sure you're just being too sensitive as usual. Just do me this one favor, best friend.
Ebony laughed. Sonia rolled her eyes and finally agreed.
When was the last time you saw Yanni?
Ebony asked out of nowhere. Yesterday, when I was down at Rico's.
I haven't seen that girl in weeks. The both of y'all just abandoned me.
Yeah, well, you and Lucky seem to be good friends all of a sudden. Sonia laughed.
Yeah, she's cool. Not the crazy little maniac I always thought she was.
Sonia laughed too.
Is Twin going to get dinner with Yanni?
Of course. You know those two are so in love they can be away from each other for a few minutes.
You think they're actually in love?
She asked with genuine skepticism. Yeah, you don't?
Twin was trying to get with me at first. He only got with Yanni because I wasn't interested. And a few weeks back, I saw him staring at me over Lucky's house, trying to flirt.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You tell Yanni yet?
No, and you better not either.
I won't, but if he's playing her, you should say something.
You know that girl is so stuck on him, she wouldn't even believe me.
After the girls split up at the corner, Sonia walked up her creepily empty street all alone. And that same old familiar feeling of being watched came over her again. She shook off the feeling, like she always did, and stepped quickly toward her house. The last time Sonia saw Drea, the girl was a bloody mess, screaming about how she would be back for Sonia. And as promised, there she was, hopping out of a car with a big linebacker-looking girl for backup. Sonia tried to run, but Drea grabbed her by the backpack and yanked her down. Before the girls could attack, Sonia slipped out of the backpack and took off. The girls were right behind her, though. Too close for Sonia to run to her front door, unlock it, and make it inside. So instead of running home, she darted across the street, her eyes moving to Mr. Easton's driveway. She ran straight to his pile of scrap metal and grabbed a long pipe. Sonia turned, swinging the pipe wildly, and the tall girl went down first. Sonia had smashed the heavy metal against the girl's forehead, and now she was out cold. Next, Drea ran up. Sonia swung, but she ducked away. Drea reached for the pipe, but Sonia smashed the metal against her hand, sending Drea doubling over in pain. Grabbing her hand and giving Sonia just enough time to run across the street and into the house. She stood in her bedroom in shock, her hands still shaking as adrenaline pumped through her. She couldn't believe she managed to escape unharmed, but that feeling of relief disappeared when the police showed up at her door 10 minutes later. Sonia's heart was pounding as she sat in the backseat of the squad car. She tried to listen to the officers as they spoke to her irate mother, but their voices were too muffled and she couldn't hear anything. As the cops got into the car, Gloria yelled into their open doors, telling Sonia that she would come and pick her up. Sonia stared back at her mother helplessly as the squad car pulled off. The ride to the police station felt like a real-life nightmare. Sonia pressed her forehead against the cold window as tears blurred her vision to the outside world. None of it felt real. It was like she was watching someone else's life falling apart. As they rode, Sonia's anger grew with each passing second. Those cops kept calling the other girl the victim, talking about the supposed victim was unconscious and on her way to the hospital, and that they didn't know what kind of charges Sonia would face later, whether it would be murder or attempted murder. Sonia wanted to scream, to shout the truth, that those girls came after her and that she was forced to defend herself. But her voice was stuck in her throat, a useless lump of fear and rage. As more tears fell, the dark, familiar shadow in her peripheral vision showed up again. But this time, the shadow became much clearer. No longer a shadow, Sonia could see a girl. She was around Sonia's age, sitting beside her. The ghost girl was calm and still, and dressed in all white, staring straight ahead with a weird little smile on her face. Sonia's heart pounded as she glanced over at the ghost. Suddenly, Sonia knew that Mama Yaya was legit. She was sitting next to an ancestor, something straight out of the spirit world. Sonia figured she was there to look out for her. Everything was gonna be all right. But just as Sonia sighed in relief, the girl turned to her, her dark, hollow eyes deep in her face. Sonia leaned away in fear, but the girl was on top of her, grabbing her neck. The next thing Sonia remembered were the two cops staring at her, looking annoyed outside of the police precinct. They told her she wasn't about to fake her way to a hospital, and then they dragged her into the building. When she finally got her call, she dialed Rico's number immediately.
Who is this?
He asked, annoyed after seeing the unfamiliar number. It's me. I got arrested. Sonia said, speaking quickly. Julian and some other girl tried to jump me, so I picked up a pipe and...
Don't say nothing else.
He cut her off. Rico asked for her location, then promised he'd be there to get her out. Back in the holding cell, Sonia kept her back pressed tight against the filthy cinder block wall. Even though she was in the cell alone, she was on edge, knowing that the shadow girl could show up at any moment. Those fears were soon replaced with worry as she wondered if the tall girl ever woke up. Would Sonia be charged with murder? She knew it would be her word against Ria's. Would the cops believe Sonia if she told them it was self-defense? After what felt like an eternity, Sonia finally walked out the police station a few hours later. She dug through the plastic bag of her confiscated belongings, looking for her cell phone to call Rico. But before she could call, his voice was cutting through the frigid night air.
You okay?
He asked, stepping on his car. Yeah, she said flatly. He took her hand, walking her to the passenger side and opening the door. As Rico pulled off, he glanced over at her, seeing her empty, blank stare.
Sorry it took so long. I had to get Javier's uncle to make some calls to get the charges dropped.
How was he able to do that?
He knows people.
Did the girl die?
What?
When I was in the police car, the cops said they didn't know if the girl was gonna make it. They said she could die. Sonia's voice was monotone and distant.
That girl is fine. They gave her some stitches and discharged her hours ago.
How you know all that?
Drea called me from the hospital. He yelling, talking about she needed to get it cast.
He laughed.
Said you busted up her hand with a pipe. I told her that's what she got for going after you.
He noticed Sonia wasn't laughing, then wiped the smile from his face.
Sonny, I'm sorry I got you mixed up with her.
She was still silent, staring out the window.
You want to get something to eat before we go back to my place?
I should go home tonight. My mother's probably losing her mind right now. Gloria was looking through the yellow pages, trying to find a lawyer, when she heard the front door squeak open. She jumped up from the table, meeting Sonia in the hallway.
What happened?
Gloria asked, inspecting her daughter. I got into a fight.
I know that much. With who and why?
The same girl from before. Sonia sighed. Gloria hugged Sonia tight.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
The police never gave you a phone call?
Gloria asked, releasing her. Yeah, I called Rico.
When something like this happens, you call me.
She said sternly. I figured if I needed some bail money, he could help.
He's a reason you're in this mess in the first place. I know he has something to do with that girl coming after you. You wasn't getting into fights before him.
It's not his fault she's jealous and can't move on.
I knew it was over that boy.
She knew that as long as Rico was around, Sonia wouldn't be safe.
I want Rico to come over tomorrow. It's about time I have a long talk with that boy.
Sonia sighed and headed to her room, but before she could make it in, Gloria continued.
And I'm not asking. You tell him he needs to come see me.
When the private investigator called Sonia the next day, asking if she could stop by for an update, she was beyond surprised. The cops claimed they were investigating for months, but never showed up with any results. She had just gone to the PI with the case a week ago. Nate looked a lot different from their first meeting in Chinatown. Instead of his well-tailored suit, he showed up dressed in a black hoodie and a simple pair of jeans. He stepped into Sonia's house, bringing a gust of chilly air in with him. Thanks again for coming over, Sonia said, closing the door. I wanted to stop by, but I got this meeting with my mother and boyfriend that I couldn't get out of.
A meeting?
Yeah. She shook her head as Gloria emerged from her bedroom.
Hello.
Gloria greeted Nate with confusion as she buttoned her coat. Ma, this is my friend Nate, Sonia said quickly before he could speak. Confused, Nate glanced at Sonia.
Nice to meet you, Mrs. Boyd.
Nate extended his hand.
Nice to meet you, too.
Ma, Rico is running late, but he's still coming.
That's fine. I need to run to the store anyway. And Rico can wait outside until I get here,
she said sternly before leaving out. Sorry about that, Sonia said, leading Nate to the living room. She doesn't know I hired a PI, and I didn't want to mention it until you found something. They sat on the sofa. Did you find something? Nate pulled him another folder from his worn leather messenger bag and sat it on Sonia's lap.
Your father's friend Rashad was killed a few minutes before your shooting. Did you know that?
Yes, she sighed, not even bothering to open the folder. The cops already told me that. And they told me that the two cases weren't related. Nate's eyebrows lowered in confusion.
I spoke to a detective yesterday, and he told me there was no leads on Rashad's case or your father's. So, if they don't know anything about either shooting, how can they be sure it's not related?
Sonia shrugged. I don't know, but that's what the officer told us over the summer. Nate read the disappointment on her face.
Anyway, that's not the reason I came over. I got better news.
Sonia's eyes were instantly filled with hope again.
I canvassed the neighborhood for witnesses and found a lady who saw something.
She saw the shooting?
Not exactly,
he said as he reached over and opened the folder on her lap.
The witness lives on a street where you and your father were shot.
Nate's finger tapped a printout of a map.
Her apartment's right here on the corner. Her bedroom overlooks Rashad's block, and her kitchen faces the street where you got shot. Around the time Rashad was murdered, she looked out of the bedroom window and saw 3 people running from his place. Then a few minutes later, when she was in the kitchen, she saw the same 3 people run up the street. After they were out of her view, she heard more shots.
He studied Sonia's blank face as she stared down at the map. Why didn't she say anything until now? Sonia asked, her voice filled with anger.
She did. She told me the cops took the statement that night, but they never followed up with her.
Just then, Sonia heard heavy thuds on the other side of the room, near her father's recliner. She swallowed hard, trying to block it out and focus on the matters at hand. But then, Nate asked,
What was that?
"You heard it too?"
Of course I heard it. It was loud. Is somebody else here?
He looked across the room. Sonia almost smiled, relieved that she hadn't gone crazy. Looking over at Nate for a split second, she considered telling him all about the crazy things happening around her, but she knew he would look at her like she was crazy if she told him about the ghostly shadows roaming around. So she changed the subject. "Do you think this witness is reliable?"
I do.
He nodded.
And I'm still trying to figure out why the police didn't include her statement in the police report. Something about this investigation is off. It's almost like somebody is trying to bury the case.
Why would they do that?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Sonia was silent as her eyes moved over the documents on her lap. "Thank you so much, Nate," she said in a low, shaky voice. He gave her a humble shrug.
I wish I had more for you.
"This is more information than anybody's given me so far." As she stared down at the paperwork, she couldn't help but feel like this was the beginning of something big.
You okay?
Nate asked, noticing her distant stare. "Yeah," she said faintly, with a nod.
Before the Yankees game, when you and your father went to Rashad's house, what did they talk about?
Small talk, just catching up with each other.
So Rashad never mentioned anything about his business, them working together.
No. You think Rashad was murdered over his work? He just ran a charity.
Yeah, but I found a police report about a break-in at his business around the time he was murdered.
Nate flipped through the paperwork again and pulled out some papers.
In these reports, Rashad said he thought he was being followed after the break-in. I think this is a lot deeper than we suspected.
Do you still think you can handle the case? Or is it getting too complicated for you? Nate chuckled as he picked up the folder.
You still don't have any faith in me, even after this huge fine after 1 week.
He joked, standing up. Sonia laughed too, following him up the narrow hall. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm just wondering if it's too big of a case now."
But I can handle it.
Nate paused at the front door after realizing that Sonia had dipped into her bedroom. When she returned, she held out 2 thick rolls of cash. "You'll need more money for the investigation, right?"
Don't worry about that right now.
He waved her money away.
Your retainer is more than enough right now.
"Thank you," she said, her voice filled with sincerity again.
If there's anything else you need, anything at all, you can call me.
His eyes were filled with genuine kindness. Less than a minute after Nate left the house, there was a heavy knock at the front door. Sonia opened it, and Rico stepped in before she had a chance to tell him to wait outside. Noting the surprise on Sonia's face, Rico asked suspiciously,
Did you forget I was coming over or something?
"No, I just thought you were running late." She sighed, trailing behind him as he stared into her bedroom, like he was looking for something. "Rico, you have to wait outside until my mother gets back."
She the one who wanted me over here.
"Yeah, she said she'd be right back. But until then, you gotta wait outside," she pleaded. He paused, checking her face to see if she was serious, then asked,
Who was that dude I just saw leave your house?
"A private investigator I hired," she said simply, following Rico into the living room.
You hired for what?
"To help me find my father's killer."
What you do that for?
"Why do you think? To find the killer."
I told you I would handle it, Sonny.
His voice was tight. "Yeah, but maybe he could help." Rico removed the anger from his tone.
We don't need his help. I already found a man who did it.
"What? When?"
Last month.
Why didn't you tell me?
'Cause you told me you wasn't worried about her no more. You said you felt safe 'cause of me. So I figured I could just tell you later.
He paused for effect, then lowered his eyes to the floor.
I knew that once I told you I took care of it, you would never look at me the same.
He let out a pathetic sigh.
And I didn't want you looking at me like I was some type of monster. But I had to do it.
He surprised himself with how sincere and emotional he was able to sound. Confusion filled her as her eyes locked in on his. You killed him?
Yeah, I did.
What was his name?
Johnny Young.
Who is that?
Just some crackhead from the projects. I heard he had been going around robbing people, so I looked into it. And sure enough, before I took care of him, he told me the gun went off on your father by accident when he was running up and getting ready to rob him.
Sonia frowned, shaking her head a little. None of it seemed right, but Rico went on.
He said after he shot your father, he had to finish you off to get rid of any witnesses.
Why did he just tell you all this?
You don't want to know the details of how I got him to talk.
This is all so crazy because the PI just told me that the shooting was likely connected to another murder that happened that night. Everything he said seemed to make so much sense. She paused and thought, then asked, "Are you sure you didn't make a mistake with that man, Johnny?"
Why would he defense if he didn't do it?
I don't know. Maybe he was scared.
Nah, he knew details, saying he shot your father in the head and then you in the back, just like you told me.
Sonia's eyes were watering, and Rico pulled her close.
You need to call the PI and tell him to drop the case. If he finds out it was Johnny who killed your father, he might find out I had something to do with him going missing.
He pleaded. "I'll call tomorrow," she assured him, just as Gloria stepped into the house. Sonia moved away from Rico's embrace, feeling her mother's angry glare from up the hall. Rico and Sonia sat on the couch as Gloria sat in the recliner. She was staring daggers at Rico as he sat there with an indignant look on his face.
Nice to finally meet you, Rico.
Gloria spat out his name. Rico stared back at her without speaking. Instead, he just gave her a dismissive nod. Sonia squeezed his hand and shot him a pleading look, begging him not to start a fight. "You want something to drink?" Sonia asked him, trying to diffuse the intense moment.
Nah, baby, I'm good.
His tone was flirtatious and light. Gloria glared at Rico in all his smugness. Then she said,
I wanted to finally speak to you. I always see you come and go, but you've never taken the time out to come and introduce yourself.
Yeah, that's 'cause you told Sonny you didn't want me in your house.
He laughed harshly. "Rico," Sonia sighed.
What? That's what you told me.
He laughed. Then Gloria spoke up.
Yeah, I said that, and I meant it. This is the only time I want you in here, because I don't trust you. The first time you came into my house, you had sex with my daughter. And every time before that, you came by and didn't even have enough respect to introduce yourself.
Rico looked over at Sonia.
Yo, why'd you have me come over here?
I asked Sonia to invite you because we needed to have a talk. You are ruining my daughter's life, and I'm not about to let it continue.
"Ma," Sonia gasped.
I'm not ruining nothing. Her life's been a whole lot better since she met me.
He said with pride.
Better. Because of you, girls are trying to jump her and she's getting arrested.
Yeah, that won't happen again. And I got a release, didn't I?
I guess that makes things all good then.
Gloria laughed sarcastically.
You had her skipping school and almost failing, and you think she's better off now?
She don't need school. I'ma take care of her.
Rico smiled, standing up. Gloria stood up too. Then Sonia hopped up.
You don't know nothing about me.
Rico glared at Gloria.
I know that you won't do anything but bring her down. And I know you need to stay away from her.
I ain't going nowhere,
he said, heading up the hall.
Sonny, go get your stuff so we can go.
He caught him on his shoulder. Rico, you know I can't, she called to him angrily. He turned, peering up the hall through the darkness, his gaze burning into her.
Baby, I want you to leave with me.
His tone was soft, but still tense. Sonia turned to her mother, about to speak.
Sonia, you better not leave this house.
Gloria's tone was sharp and stern, but carried a hint of fear.
Yo, you not a kid. You ain't gotta listen to her.
The emotional exhaustion set in, and tears were welling in Sonia's eyes. Rico, can't I just see you this weekend?
Word, you not coming?
Tears fell as Rico left out. Sonia ran out the door, chasing behind him, and Gloria shook her head. Rico, she caught up to him before he could get into the car.
What?
He asked, annoyed. Why are you being like this?
Why you letting her control your life?
You're trying to control my life too. His glare faded away, and he stroked the side of her neck.
I'm not. I just want to be with you. Go get your stuff and come home with me, please.
He begged. Sonia sighed weakly. Just give me a minute to get some clothes.
I'll be in the car.
Gloria heard Sonia rush back inside. Then the sound of Sonia rustling through her drawers in her bedroom.
I know you are not leaving.
Gloria stepped into her room. Sonia hesitated before answering. Just for a few days. Her mother knelt down, joining her on the floor. Then, Gloria took Sonia's face in her hands, forcing Sonia to look into her eyes.
When you're ready to come home, I'll be here.
Gloria said softly.
I'll always be here, whenever you need me. And if you need me to come get you, I'll be there, no questions asked.
The tears in Gloria's eyes and the desperation in her voice caused Sonia to cry too. Ma, I'll be okay. Gloria took her daughter in her arms, hugging her tight, trying to protect her from everything that had happened in the past and the things she feared was soon to come. Gloria's arms shook with a mixture of weakness and anger as Rico started blowing his horn. Ma, I gotta go. Sonia pulled away and stood up.
Sonny, I knew a lot of boys like Rico growing up. And I'm telling you, trouble is gonna follow you as long as you're with him. You can do so much better than him.
Rico is so good to me. You just gotta spend some time with him, Sonia said, sprinting out her room. I'll be back next week, Mommy.
No, you'll be back Saturday for your birthday, right?
Gloria asked with desperation. Yeah, Sonia said before doubling back for one last hug. Nate was all business the next day. Back in his crisp shirt and well-tailored suit, a stark contrast to the casual hoodie he'd been wearing the night before. His eyes lingered on Sonia's as Rico did all the talking. Even though Nate was expressionless, his demeanor said he sensed something suspicious. With his eyes still fixed on Sonia, he ignored Rico completely and asked,
So that's it. You don't want to know who did it?
Nah, she don't. So just close the case and let it go.
Rico spoke up.
If you want me to stop, I will. But it's up to you and only you.
Nate said, his voice filled with the usual authority and care.
Man, what did I just say?
Rico roared as he stood over Nate's desk, leaning in. Nate remained unmoved, still staring Sonia in the eye. Yeah, I want to call it off, Sonia said weakly. Then, for the first time during their meeting, Sonia saw a tiny hint of emotion on Nate's face. It was something between pity and disappointment. Nate gave her a simple nod, then opened a drawer, pulling out a checkbook.
I'll give you a refund on your retainer.
Nah, keep that.
Rico said, walking out the office. Thank you, Nate, she said apologetically.